everyone, and welcome to our special edition of the Londonderry View. Tonight, Debbie and Carol and myself are giving everyone an opportunity to get to know the candidates that are willing to run for our town and school open positions. And our first candidate tonight is our Beth Marrocco, and she's running for library trustee. So welcome. Thank you for being our first tonight.
Thank you very much for having me. You know, it's really exciting for me to be able to run for this seat because the library trustee position is one that I really just have such an affection for our library. And so it is so important to me to make sure that we are doing our part, our civic duty, to make sure that these services are happening. And the library, it's set up in an interesting sort of way. It's its own kind of operation, and it requires a board of trustees to oversee the finances. We have a fantastic library director with Erin Matlin, and her team of librarians is so committed, and they're so committed specifically to her because she brings the programming and she brings the excitement over that Leach Library has really enjoyed over the last few years.
Even when she comes into the town hall,
she's
just
amazing.
Ray of sunshine.
So for her to do her job, she needs a committed group of board members who will do the finances because legally they need to oversee the budget. And it's something that I've been watching and following in person at their monthly trustee meetings. I feel like it's something I could just jump right into because I've been kind of speaking the language for over a year, a couple years of following, you know, with the notes and the minutes. But really, I've been there. I've been a part of that process as a public commenter and as somebody who's just absorbing, taking it all in, noticing what things are we doing really well as a community, and then what things can we get better with. Because sometimes the only time people are aware and participating in these meetings is when there's a problem. So it's really important to have a board of people who are solid in the job and in purpose. And the purpose of a board member is to oversee the finances, but we also have this very clear code of trustee ethics. And it's very clearly outlined that the job of the board trustee is to provide the support for that programming, to provide the equitable access of a library and all the services that they provide. And you know, sometimes that is brought into question by people because you know, they may not understand that there are essays that regulate what a library can and cannot do. And they really need somebody to advocate on behalf of the library. And truthfully, there's a lot of litigation that's starting to happen that might change the face of public libraries as we know them. And you know, we've complacently enjoyed that we've had access to public libraries our entire lives, and they've only ever grown better and bigger and provided more and more to their patrons. But the reality is that there are more than a dozen bills that are making their way into the New Hampshire legislature, and we want to make sure that we are not crimping what a public library can do. So it's really important that we're just being mindful of the fact that these public spaces are not always a given. They're not always going to just be here to take advantage of. So as an active member of the community, I want to make sure that we are preserving this space. It is a community space for everyone. And I'm speaking to children who are coming in as little tiny babies who are using that space literally from, you know, they're born and they're in the carrier and they're at the library, and that is where they grow up. You know, my own family has used the library forever, and everybody knows us, and I don't even have to pull out a library card. They just know us, they look up our name, and that's important. It is a space where you are known. Even in a big community like this, they know us. and it's just really important. Our library provides so many things, more than books, more than periodicals, more than access to a computer. There are programs for little babies all the way through seniors at the senior center. I mean, our library is pushing out into the community. They're participating in townwide events. So it's so important to make sure that we're preserving the budget. Some people are interested in saving money. I understand that. But there's saving money and spending wisely, and then there's eliminating programs that benefit our community. And our public library is a critical place that should unify all community members. And I just really want to emphasize that. It is a space where we have to preserve it. We have to keep it available and accessible for everyone. They've done such a fantastic job in the last year of expanding their catalog. So now they belong to a consortium called Gimlex. And we have access to millions of books that we did not have access to at one point, just a few months ago. Our library is taking in 14,000 visitors. We need to really champion our library, and I want to do that as a trustee. I feel like I've earned their trust already because I've been an active, consistent participant. I openly advocate for them with our community, trying to draw in membership for the Friends programs and raising money. I helped raise $750 this summer at Old Home Day because that space is a space that I want to keep promoting and supporting. So I'm just hoping that the voters will give me their vote. I'm hoping that they will look up my Facebook page, Beth Marrocco, for library trustee. I'm pretty active on Facebook and the community pages. I'm really transparent and open about what I want to do and what I want to support. And I'm hoping that people will participate in the local votes. We do not have a high turnout for local elections.
We talk about that every time.
We do almost every
If
day.
it's not spicy and exciting, people sort of forget. But we really owe it to Londonderry. We owe it to people of all generations and all ages to preserve this space and make sure people are aware and electing people.
And come out and vote.
Yeah, we need
Do
people
your
to elect
research, right.
people into these seats.
No,
So
that's
yeah.
wonderful.
Well, I think you've covered quite a bit, that's for sure. That was
Right.
great. That was
Speaking
wonderful.
from the heart.
yeah, I love
Yeah.
the library. I'm passionate about it, and I will be there, elected or not. But if I'm elected to sit in one of those board seats, I'm going to have a lot more pull to do the things. I'm a worker. I'm a worker bee.
There
So
you go.
I just want to be there and help the community.
Great.
That's awesome.
It was wonderful having you.
Thank you
thank
very
you so
much.
much for being on our Londonderry View, and also for your little shout out that March 11th
Yes.
is our town and school election. To me, one of our most important elections, because it's where all of these important decisions that are going to affect us, our children,
Yep.
our seniors, all of us, our neighbors, the decisions are made.
For
so please
sure.
come out and vote. Polls open at 6 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. So thank you for that little
And I
shout
wanted to
out.
let people know that I will be voting for that full-time librarian position. That's on one of the warrant articles because it is very much needed. So
The children's
if,
room.
Yeah, if people are interested in, what do people think is necessary, I would say that is a need and not a want. And I would advocate for people to look more into that.
Thank
And next we have with us John Farrell, who is running for the position of town councilor. John, welcome.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you for
being
having
with
me
us.
here.
Thank you.
I know you. I think I
Yes.
recognize you. I recognize you other ladies. It's always nice to be with you. So, why don't we talk a little bit about why I'm doing this again? I guess.
Again.
So so I kind of stepped back and I looked at it and I said, you know what? Came to this community for a reason. First reason is I fell in love and got married, which led me to the love of this community. We got married here 32 years ago and really become more and more invested in the community, because what you want to do is you want to protect the community. You want this to be a place where your children want to come back and live, and we're fortunate they decided they wanted to come back and live here. And I look back at it and I say, my mother-in-law, was probably one of the reasons I looked at it, as well as my father. But my mother-in-law would go and she would cut all the articles out of the newspaper, and she'd watch the pieces on TV. And then when the people came through Shaw's and everything, when she was a checkout clerk there, they'd talk about all the different things that went on in town. Long before there were things like Facebook and Instagram and everything, everybody talked to each other. So that was, really, a lot of fun. My father did this in the town I grew up in for 25 years. He was on something they called the ZBA and the planning board. And, we'd always laugh and say, Dad's going out to save the town. Not that, I feel that way, but that's what Dad would always say. But, you look at this and you say, you really do it because you're a humble servant of the community. People do this because they want to help. They want to be part of something. But what's going on here is we have important things going on here. This whole PFOA issue and our drinking water. I'm deeply involved in it. I am the chairman of the State Water Council. I was nominated by the governor and approved by the Executive Council. And we are deeply involved in what's going on High Range Road and bringing fresh water to this town. And those things are important to the people of Londonderry. I'm also focused on, we always have to look for what's called, some sort of stability. People talk all the time about taxes will go up, taxes will go down. We're not looking for them to go up and down. We're looking to just try to have them be stable. Folks talk about we shouldn't have any more growth. So our acting town manager, Art Salidas, had a speech on Saturday. And he actually said, he says, growth is inevitable. But he also said something really interesting in his speech. He said, I don't go on vacation because I live in God's country. I live where people want to vacation. I live here because I love this place. And, and he talked about it from the passion that he's had, for over 50 years. My wife's family came here over 50 years ago. And when I look at it, I say, okay, we have that real balancing act. And, I'll put my hands up for a second. We call it that we're in the triangle. Boston's 35 to 40 miles to the south, depending on traffic. You can get there in less than an hour. The ocean's less than an hour away, and the ski slopes are less than an hour away. So we're really in that perfect location.
Yeah.
The problem with being in the perfect location is everybody else wants to come here to God's country. And while everyone would like to put a moat around the town and say, no more, you can't really do that. But what we've done successfully as government over the last 25 years is we invested $16 million into open space, which took the population, the build out population of the town down from 44,000 to around 34, 33,000, and we're at about 27,000 now. So we're getting that stability. People are, want to come here. So what we keep looking at is and saying, what do we learn about that? This is a special place. We're not the only ones who know it's a special place. Other people are looking at it and saying, I want to be part of this special place. So why do I continue to do this? Many times you say, maybe it's just time to move on. But I look at the 200 people who work for the town who I care about. I care about them. I've gotten to know them and their families and the things that they care about, which are the same things I care about. My daughter and her husband bought a house here in town. My other daughter, my younger daughter, just recently got engaged, and they're looking for a house here in town. You want them and their families and the younger people who come here and their families to learn about this special place. That's why I'm continuing to do this. I do this because I love this community, I want to protect it, and I want to do everything possible to do that.
I would totally agree with that.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Any questions?
That was pretty wonderful.
That was very good.
Yeah. But you could tell how you get started, like what led you to this, like at the planning board, things like that?
Sure. I mean, so back in 1998, my dad passed away. And as I said, my dad had been on the planning board, ZBA, in the town I grew up in New Jersey. And, there was a void. And there became an opportunity where there was an opening on the planning board. And we had moved back here, and I said, you know what? Kind of want to, continue what Dad did and try to do it the way that he did it. And, you jump into it, and I spent 10 years on the planning board, and then my 11th year I was part of the council, but I was the liaison for the planning board. And you jump into the whole thing thinking, you know what, I'm going to change the world. I can do anything I want. I'm going to speak my mind. And then you find out there's all these laws and regulations And all these things that you have to be, these you call them guidelines, but you can't do certain things. I mean, in New Hampshire, the landowner has tremendous rights. I mean, if you think about it in your own home, if you want to paint your house a certain color, you should be allowed to do that. You own that land. The person who owns the land, who does development or puts a building on it, they have rights too. They have to work with inside our regulations. They have to follow the rules, but they have rights, and you have to learn how to work with that. Something that we came up with here in town is people talk about impact fees. Impact fees require matching funds. So if we get $1 million, we got to find $1 million. We came up with a different concept. We call it development agreements. We came up with another concept, for the example of Woodmont, which we have a 20 to 30 year agreement in place so that they have to balance the books on taxes. What does that mean, balance the books? Whatever they take in for services, they got to be able to pay for themselves and be self-sufficient so that the homeowner doesn't get affected. Development agreements is how Pettingill Road got built, is that we used the money we brought in from the taxpayers, from those taxpayers in that area. So when FW Webb built and when EFI built, we used that money to build the roads so that we could put that money back on the tax rolls. Why did I run for town council? I was the umpire chief for Laue, and I got a phone call from Art Rugg, who was still on the planning board, but he was the chairman of the planning board, and he says, "Can you come to this location and meet with these guys?" So I meet, the developers of Woodmont, who was basically DeMulas, the owners of Market Basket, and they're saying we're going to build 600 acres in town. So this was 16 years ago, and after meeting them and seeing what could happen, that's why I decided to run for town council. Is because you needed to be in there and be effective. They were going to build, but we needed to have some input and control. And that was the first agreement we put together in the planned unit development, and saying so that the town had control. We didn't have a law that was from the state that could stop us. We hired the right legal counsel. We got the right consultants, and we put together a plan so that as they expand and we need services, an example, and one of the things they agreed to in the agreement is when it comes time to build a public safety or fire station, they're going to build it and pay for it. When it comes time, which doesn't look like it will happen, that the school needs more property or another building, that they would sell us the land at below market cost. So it was all about a partnership. It was all about building something together, which is why I continue to do this, is that it's all about working with each people, working with all the employees, working with the people in the town. And mostly, more than anything else, listening to what they're saying. There's one gentleman who's a developer here in town, whose name I won't use. He's a builder, and what he said was, he says, we had a particular decision in which he didn't agree with the decision that I made, and what I said to him is that that's what I always saw it at the time. A year later, things changed, and I changed my mind, and he came back to me. He says, "I really appreciate you have the ability to change your mind." So the great part for me is that I want people to be as invested as I am. I want younger people to get involved. And I want people to come out on March 11th, and I want them to vote for me because I am passionate. I care about this community. I care about the people in it, and I care about protecting it with everything I've got, and I use every resource possible.
Very good. Well, we thank you for
That's
coming
awesome.
tonight, and
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for
gave a
being
lot
here.
of good information.
Thank
good
you.
information.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Next, we have with us Liz Thomas, and she's running as a library trustee. And we welcome you to the Londonderry View, Liz. Thanks for
Welcome.
being-
Thank you so much, ladies, and thank you for having me.
Thank you.
I've been a trustee now for this, I'm just completing my first term, my third year, and it's been the most wonderful experience that I have had. I grew up in a family of service. We had 7 children, and my dad worked 2 jobs. My mother, I used to say my mother doesn't have a job. My mother had a job. She worked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, raising the family. And my father worked 2 jobs just to provide for us. And I used to always laugh and say, wow, every time I go anywhere and they need help, I volunteer you guys, and you always step up. Even though you have 7 children, they said, well, that's what a good citizen does, you know? And so I was raised that way. And I've always loved the library. When I was in college, I worked my last 2 years in a private school library, teaching library skills at night. So I got to mold the young minds of how to do research and stuff, because as a history major, research was a very important part of my education. So I went ahead and I did that. And then, lo and behold, in my freshman year, I met my husband, my future husband, and he was headed off to the service. He was a career officer in the Air Force. So I knew right then and there, well, I'm not going to be a librarian, because a librarian, you're part of the community and you're constant.
Yeah.
Where we were going to be moving every 2 to 3 years, and we did for many years, you know. So therefore, I found other ways to do service. They used to have, the Air Force bases used to have a thing called family services, and it was especially important with people moving overseas, that we were able to help young families acclimate and find the services they needed. So that's how I involved myself while my husband was, you know, in the military. Once he got out, I actually became a professional student for a while. I had my undergraduate degree in history and with a minor in English and minor in education. So I was a teacher, and what I did is I went into industrial training. And to do that, the first thing I realized that everything today, all businesses run by digital means. And so I went and I got a minor in computer science, and then I got my MBA,
My goodness.
so that I would have a broad knowledge of business. And that brings me right back to the library. The library is a business,
It is.
okay? It needs to be run conservatively as far as budgeting goes. We are assigned by the public, by the citizens, to go there and give the best services possible for the best value. And so that's whenever, as a board member, whenever we vote on anything, whether it be salaries or budgeting, we always look at bottom line, what is nice to have and what's necessary to have. And that's really important today, because we do that in our home, in our family. We can't always get what's nice to have, but we manage to get what's necessary to have. And so that whole concept of service and providing back to the communities that have given us so much, that's what we do every day. That's my husband and I's mantra of, you know, how we live here in this community. We've been here for almost 20 years, and it's been such a wonderful, wonderful, thing. People were so accepting of us when we moved in, and we felt like, you know what, for 13, 14 years I traveled with my husband in his service, and we always had a house, but never a home. And when we moved to Londonderry, we now have a home, and that's how we look at it.
That's wonderful.
That really is, boy.
So as far as the library trustee goes, not everyone knows what it's something that's by law, an RSA, that every library will have a trustee.
That was going to be my question, Liz.
Yeah,
because
a board
it's a
of
hard one
trustees.
to understand.
Yeah, see, I'm
You know?
gonna give you make
Good,
your job
no,
easy.
But that's good. We appreciate it.
The trustee is the servant of the public. We are elected by the public. We have to serve the public, all of the public, from the youngest to the oldest, no matter what your denomination, whatever you are. We are nonpartisan, and we serve everyone equally. We are keepers of a library, the healthiness of the library. We have to make some tough decisions on budgeting, and we can't. The director works through us. We hired the director, and we vote on any of the budgets that the director suggests. We may tweak it. We might do changes, you know, but it's we, bottom line, are responsible for the health of the library and for the services it provides to our citizens.
Very well, yes.
So, anyway, so that's me. Just to let you know that, you know, I have run, I worked at a public utility in New England. I'm retired from a public utility, and I was in management. I did everything from contract negotiation. I was the safety officer. I was the litigator. I actually had to go and represent the company. So I've had a myriad of experiences. You know, experiences that I think can really transfer to something useful to a library and to the town.
Absolutely.
And so I take all of that knowledge that I've developed and grown with, the want and need to be of service, and I found a home at the library. That's why I'm hoping that, again, I'm up for re-election. I started the library when they were just rebuilding after COVID.
Oh, my goodness.
So we've grown the staff. The staff right now is more than 50% not covered by unions.
Well,
Okay,
yes,
and they're
right,
part-time.
right.
They're part-time. That's a good thing. You get a lot of fresh ideas because you have more staff by giving them half the time. The other thing is that there's no benefits you have to pay. There's no vacations. The overhead, when I was budgeting in my company, and I had over 100 employees at a time working on my programs, huge programs, my overhead, I had to take whatever the salaries are and double it to cover the overhead. You know, and you need to know that. So you need to know the importance of, you know, if you can do with a part-time, but you need to have some consistency, but you don't need to have everyone full-time. And so that's what we do. And, you know, and we have, in the last 3 years, every year, given money back at the end of the year.
Wow.
We always meet our budget. And thanks to our library staff, I say that it's them that make it happen, but we have to vote on it.
That's
Right.
So I'm here to ask everyone to search their conscience. If they feel that I could serve further for the community, I would love to do so. Whatever happens, the library's going to thrive. The library's going to be healthy.
I think
Very
that's a
good.
nice
Very well
way to
said.
end,
Mhm.
Liz.
Yeah.
Very well said. And thank you for being with us and your passion.
It was my
for our
pleasure.
library. We
My pleasure.
appreciate it.
So much, you know.
Yeah, it's wonderful. All right.
And thank you for the opportunity.
And next we have with us Patrick El-Azem, and he is running for our budget committee. And Patrick, we thank you for being here with us on the Londonderry View.
Welcome.
And share a little bit about yourself with us.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure. And I've actually really enjoyed watching some of the back episodes on YouTube.
Oh,
So
good.
great job. Really good community service here. It's been wonderful watching some of the other candidates over the last couple of years on here. So thank you very much for doing that. So I'm Patrick El-Azem, probably the hardest to pronounce name that you'll hear in this year's
Close,
slate of
close.
candidates. And this is my first time running for local office here in the town. I have once run for office before, but that was quite some years ago. And then family happened and life and work and all that. A little bit about me. My family and I have lived here in Londonderry for close to 24 years now. We moved here right after we got married and had rented a small apartment, but work happened, and so we moved to Massachusetts for a few years. And as soon as we could, decided we're coming back. We love it in New Hampshire. And just as a little sidebar, so many people that I meet here were born here or have lived here even longer than we have. Because of the family I grew up in, we lived all over the world. I've lived in well over 24 countries and a bunch of different places. But coming to the United States, I'm an immigrant, and then coming to New Hampshire, people in New Hampshire are so blessed. This is such a wonderful, beautiful place. It's safe, it's clean, it's amazing. And when you've lived other places and you come to New Hampshire, you realize, wow, we are so lucky to be here. So Laura and I have been very fortunate and blessed to raise our family here. And we have 5 kids who are mostly now college age or older. So you see I'm a little gray now, right? Our older son is a United States Marine, so he's in North Carolina. And our younger son is up at Norwich University, actually in Vermont. So he's going to be in the Army after he graduates there.
Wonderful.
So yeah,
Wonderful.
it's interesting. We have quite the budding military tradition in the family and service. And our middle daughter just graduated from UNH and has her first job already at a company in Nashua. So that's wonderful. And our youngest daughter is currently in fashion school in Massachusetts. So she had to go over the border, but at least she's not that far away. So a little bit more about me professionally and then why am I running for office. Again, this is my first time running for local office in Londonderry. I am an engineer by trade, by education, and much to my parents' chagrin, shortly after I graduated engineering school, I took my fancy engineering degree and realized within about a year I can make way more money in the computer business. So I switched over and been in the computer and then cloud and software and data, really very, very nerdy things for the last 25 plus years. What's been interesting about that is during that time, I've had multiple roles that are management, leadership, profit and loss, budgetary responsibility, staffing, hired people, built up teams, as well as actually doing hands-on technical work a lot of the time. And I've worked for some of the world's biggest companies, household names in big tech, and that's been really excellent for me just as a career to see how some of the world's leading companies, which most of us probably have in our retirement portfolios, how they're actually operating. I've also been in startups, which is an excellent combination of being around very, very intelligent, hardworking people, but you learn how to operate on a shoestring budget too. So I've kind of seen both sides of that. One other item of some interest is that I've been both through federal financial examinations and audits on the receiving side for my company, as well as ISO 9000 certification processes, which is basically where a company documents everything that they do and how they do it so that they can then be certified by this international standards organization as an organization that, yep, you have it documented, and yes, you do what you say you do, and therefore we think you probably are doing a halfway decent job at quality. So in my personal life, I am a spreadsheet nerd, and I brought a couple more props. By the way, this is my sign and my website address. So I brought a couple more props, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But in my personal life, I've long run our finances and, for the most part, managed our investments. Now we have someone to help us with that. But thinking about budget and having now for a while gone to budget committee and watched how the town is run, I think we're lucky. We have a really well-run town. We have great town government. As ever and always, we always think about, our taxes are going up, our spending is going up, what we want and need to do in the town goes up, right? How do we balance responsible spending to provide the services that everyone needs and wants with also protecting people's paychecks and spending carefully? We live in New Hampshire. Most of us, I think, believe in spending carefully and wisely. One of the discussions that's come up, including at the deliberative sessions last week, is that's a need. Well, no, that's a want. Well, I think that's a want. Well, I think that's a need. And so that's one of the first things where you kind of look at it, especially on an advisory body like the Budget Committee. The Budget Committee issues recommendations for voters, and all of us see those on our ballots at the local election. Town Council recommends 5-0, 4-1, etc., and the Budget Committee recommends 7-0, 6-1, 5-2, and so on. And so it's up to us voters to consider those recommendations. But it's worth thinking about how those recommendations get made. And so on the Budget Committee, for example, there is not one standard way to evaluate a particular spending proposal. Is it a need? Is it a want? Is it worthwhile? Is it not? Right? Each Budget Committee member kind of comes up with their own cost-benefit analysis process. And so I got to thinking about that, and because I love spreadsheets, I actually put together a model, which if you go to my website, that's right on there, there's a link to go to a public files repository that I have. So what is that, and why did I do it? I figured that if the people do me the honor of electing me, then you deserve to know how did I come up with each recommendation I would make as a Budget Committee member. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to put together an evaluation template, a spreadsheet, that has a consistent process to go through and say, is this thing a need or a want? And some other attributes, which I'll show you in a second. But the idea will be open and transparent about it. Here's the process I went through to figure, okay, is that a need? Is that a want? Is it customary, et cetera, and put it all down digitally and make it publicly available. So why should a taxpayer or a voter out there care? Because if you're thinking about who you want on the Budget Committee, maybe it makes sense to have someone who's going to have a consistent process and to be public and open and transparent about how I made those decisions. So, because I like spreadsheets and props, I brought a couple. And so here's one that I came up with that very simply answers, is something a need or a want? Now you can't see these from there, but these are online, and if you're curious to understand what I'm doing, there's my email address on there, patrick@elazem.com. But the idea here is I came up with a spreadsheet model that has a bunch of different questions that help me identify, is something a need? Now you'll see on this one, these are all red. What does that mean? That means that I have the standard set of questions, one of which, for example, is the spending proposal required to comply with federal, state, or local law or regulation? Another one is it required to maintain or restore public safety or health, etc.? And if I can answer yes to any of those, I'm going to consider it a need for the purpose of budget evaluation and recommendation. Here's a different example. You'll see that this one has one green on it, okay? And at the bottom, out comes the little cell that says, yeah, Patrick, this is a need, because one of your questions came out to a yes. So for a need to determine in my own decision-making process, is it a need? Any one of those, if it says yes, like if it's public safety, then I don't need to answer any other yeses. That's a clear yes right there. Now, what do I do with that? Guess what? Another spreadsheet. So this is one where overall, when trying to figure out a recommendation, yes, no on something, I sat down and I thought, the very first line item on here, by the way, this is all formula-based and automated, so if you download this Excel file off my website, then you'll be able to see this is actually automated. This thing, if I answer yes, it's a need on there, whoop, the first cell on here goes green right away. And then the others are just more questions about the proposed spending item. And this is more typically for dedicated warrant articles. But for example, is the proposed spending for us to comply with some law or regulation? We have to do it, right? Is the proposed spending the result of a competitive bidding, request for proposal and quote process, and so on? So there's a bunch of these where I just look through it and I try to be very data driven. And moreover, go through this, make a judgment call on each one of those, and then make it public. So if there's 20 different spending proposals, you will at least know, if you elect me, that for each one of them, I've gone through kind of a thorough process of evaluating it based on several different criteria. And it gets to the point where if you come to the budget committee, should you elect me to it, and you sit in front of it, you can download this yourself and kind of figure out, yeah, Patrick El-Azem is probably going to vote this way on that one, okay? So what I want to roll up with that is transparency, openness, and honesty about it. All of these are judgment calls, and I'm going to learn a lot if you elect me, because there's some really great people on the budget committee and awesome people who run this town. So I do commit to hard work, but also to learning and to being humble about it. And I see that our time's almost up, so I'm going to shut up now.
Wow.
Oh, you're very
That-
well.
that
Sometimes
was-
it's great to have that where you can, I like to look at things and analyze myself. So it's nice to have that. It really is.
Good, I'm glad to hear you say that. Thank
it
you.
is.
It's almost like we planned that.
I know. I know.
Checks in the mail.
That was
Yeah, it was very good.
exceptional.
Very good.
Yes,
You did
thank
great.
you.
Oh my
Well, thank you.
did
Thank you for
wonderful.
being
And
with us
yeah,
and-
good evening, everyone. And next we have with us Cris Navarro, and she's running for our library trustee position. Cris,
Welcome,
thank
Cris.
you for being
Welcome,
with us.
Very nice to be here. It's really nice that I can do this and that you guys offer this up. So
Oh, thank you so
it's
much.
very
Just
nice, so thank
positive
you.
and good. Good. Yeah, so just if you want, tell us, why you're running for library trustee. A little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I have always loved libraries. Growing up, we didn't have a TV, so we just read. We always had books. My mother took us to the library from the time we were very small. And I remember one time we were in Kansas at a base for waiting wives because my father was remote for a year. And on this base, they had this very small library, but they had a clawfoot tub full of pillows. And just, for the kids area and the preteens and stuff. And I would spend every day in that tub reading. When I could
What
get
a
away,
nice-
it was fabulous. And so I worked in libraries in high school. And so I think it is one of the most important things that we have in this country for our citizens. I firmly believe that it is just so important. So going forward, well, I've lived here in Londonderry for 30-something years, like 32 years, moved from California. Both my kids were born here. We always participated in the Leach Library. We always did all the summer programs. Both my kids went to Matthew Thornton and did the little reading program over there, so I have all their little pendants that they get for,
I love
reading all the
that.
books that they're supposed to read in elementary. So I haven't really participated much in the community as of late. Several years ago, I had run for town council. And then, you get busy with kids and work and
Life.
whatever. But, there seems to be a lot going on with our library these days. And I don't really know why. But I really want to be part of making sure that that library stays either exactly the way it is or better. I mean, I don't want to see anything taken away from the library. I think the librarians do a great job. I've never heard of any issues, that.
Positive.
Yeah, it's very positive. So I just don't know. So I really wanted to get involved because I just think it's so important. And that it's just something that we need to fight for. And maybe there's some things we can do differently. I have an engineering background and now I'm in financial planning, but there may be little ways here and there to make something a little more efficient, maybe make it a little bit better. And I'd like to work with the librarians and the other trustees and try to do something like that.
I think that's, are there 5 or 7 library trustees?
Oh, that's a
Isn't
good
that a
I
question.
think there's
question?
6.
Oh, that might be it then, right.
So there's 3
'Cause we have
open.
3 open,
And I
right,
believe there's
yeah.
3 that are
I think
currently,
you're right, Chris, right, yeah.
so yeah. So that's kind of that's why I wanted to come and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to run for trustee. I just think it's very important and I think that we need to make sure that it stays. It's such a great community space and it's like a safe space for everybody. It doesn't matter where you are in what stage of life, everybody needs the benefits that the library has. Whether it's the books or whether it's the computer or the printer or just to be able to come in and get respite from the world at
Yeah,
large, which
that's
is,
well put.
as we all know, crazy,
Yeah, it really
very
is.
crazy.
very
So I
much
just
so.
think it's an integral part of our community and should remain as
really
such.
is. I love when I see the parking lots always full over
I
there.
know.
Yeah.
And the adult programs they offer and the children's programs.
The children's programs are awesome.
They
I
really
mean,
are.
and the kids always love going. I mean, my kids always loved.
Yeah,
They,
it's so
it was always
true.
something they looked forward to. So it's
Yeah. A haven.
yeah, it really is, and it teaches lifelong skills. I mean, if you can read, you can literally do anything you want in life. And it gives you the opportunity to do that and grow. And I actually read something today about reading, and that reading to your children is the most important indicator of their success. Not phones, not games, not interactive learning, but sitting down with your child and reading a book. So I thought that was very apropos for my meeting here
Yes, I
today.
think it is. I
So,
agree.
because it is important.
It
And it's,
really is.
we were losing that skill set.
Yeah.
That
and it's-
one-on-one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know everybody's busy. It is very hard, but, certainly something worth making time for.
Yeah, really, it is.
Yeah, definitely. That's for sure.
My goodness.
Now, do you guys have any questions or anything?
Let's see. I love what you said about the library and that it really is for everyone.
It is.
From our babies, I brought our Mackenzie there in her car seat. Met some of my best friends because you're kind of a young mom. You don't
Yeah,
know anyone.
exactly.
And you're in the children's room and you're trying to and you make those connections because if you have reading in common or a love of our library, you kind of got a connection to
Yes.
start with.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
It does take so long to get to a nice level at the library, and like you said, you'd hate to go backwards.
Oh, yeah.
Only because it takes so much to get where we're at
Yes.
now. It just
Yeah,
really
there-
does.
can't
and
go
it's
back.
phenomenal. I never hear a bad thing about the
No,
library. It's
and-
just wonderful. The programs, like you said, everything.
Yeah,
it's just
it
been
really
good.
is. And I mean, everything is there. You can get movies, you can get books on tape, you can get regular books, you can
Yeah.
do the downloads and stuff, and you can drop your kids off, and
Yeah.
it's just a really nice place to be. And I would absolutely hate for anything to go backwards.
Yeah, that's a good point with it.
Yeah.
It's true.
Very
Yeah.
good point.
And even when you see the high schoolers now, like that's unusual. Like you see the high schoolers just flocking over there at the end of their school day
Yes. Yeah.
to study, or you can meet a tutor there. I mean, it's just that community.
Yes.
Safe zone, you know, as you said, it's just a little safe space for everyone. And when you need to just breathe, you can just walk in and you go to the right, and you know, you even have puzzles you can do, or you can go to the
Exactly.
left, and there's lots of little ones over there
Yeah.
with their families.
Visit the turtle.
The turtle, that's right. I think it's
We can't go wrong with the turtle.
No,
You can
that's-
never go wrong with
no,
the turtle.
That brings a lot of happiness. Yeah.
Well, it was interesting when I told my daughter that I was going to do this. You know, we were talking, and she said, well, you know, when she was in high school, she's 28 now, she would come over to the library instead of going to the school library because it was so much better at the Leach Library. It was more personal, it was quieter, she felt more at ease with everything and, you know, free to just do whatever she was going to do, and, you know, nobody's bugging her, and so she
Yeah.
really enjoyed that.
Not
That's
worried.
good.
Yeah,
That's very good.
it is. Yeah, worried about other people, like when you're in the school environment, you come over here. And,
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's, no, that is.
Well, did you want to give one more little shout out to our viewers? to
Sure.
let them-
Again, my name is Cris Navarro, and I'm running for trustee of the library. I would very much like your vote this election. I think I can do a really good job, and I have the commitment, and I'm ready to do it, and learn what I need to learn, and dive right in, and be part of the community, and help out our library.
Well said.
I
Thank
think that
you.
is perfect, Chris.
Thank you for
Yeah,
being
thank
with us.
you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
For
it.
being willing to run, and
Oh,
we
absolutely.
appreciate
Very
it.
happy
And, you
to
know,
be here.
volunteerism, right?
It's
Yeah.
how we roll in
That-
Londonderry.
Boy, isn't it though? It really is. It's
Yes,
a
it
wonderful
is.
thing. And March 11th, we'll say it again, is our
Perfect.
election.
Yes.
Polls open at 6, close at 8. And we want people to speak with their feet and come on out and vote
Yes.
for all these good things and good
Town elections are just as important as the national elections.
people. Yeah, thank you
So,
for saying that. Yes.
Everybody needs to show up for all the elections.
Yes. Welcome back to the Londonderry View, our town and school candidates special episode. So next we have with us Dan Bouchard, who's running for town council. And Dan, thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you know, share with us why you're running and a little bit about who you
A
are.
little bit about myself. I came to Londonderry in 1979, where I've raised 2 sons. I have 6 grandchildren in the school. I served the town of Londonderry for 28 years as a police officer. That's interesting because a lot of times I hear people go, Dan Bouchard, and they're like, oh, Officer Dan. I had that position in town where I worked in the schools a lot, and when I worked in the schools, I developed I was actually the first school resource officer we had in school. And I developed a lot of the programs from bus safety, bike safety. We had women's safety seminars that we did. We did personal safety. And I actually started the first Easter egg hunt we had in town. Our first Easter egg hunt.
that.
Our first Easter egg hunt started at the Lions Hall, and I remember there was a little creek there, and we had put wood, and we had to be very careful for the kids, and that nobody walked over that little piece of
Little
wood over the creek, and then we ended up expanding it to the common. So that's about a little bit about myself. I also served on the town budget committee for 3 years. I was honored as the New Hampshire Outstanding Young Officer, Police Officer of the Year for the state.
That's quite an honor.
I was elected as president of our New Hampshire Dare Officers Association for the whole state when I did Dare. I'm a longtime business owner. In 1982, I bought my home here in town. Still live in the same home. And in 1983, I said to my wife, I want to start a business. And she says, we just bought a house. So I had to sit down with her and lay it all out. And we started our landscaping business where I hired a lot of people, and we had a lot of contracts with businesses and all that. And that we did very well with that. I had a lot of people in town tell me, Dan, you do very well in your business. Why do you still work for the town? And I work for the town because I enjoy working for our community. I enjoyed working with the kids in school. I enjoyed serving our community. So this is a way now that I'm coming back to try to serve the community again in this position. So I'm committed to listening to people, researching, making informed decisions that will best serve Londonderry. I mean, Londonderry, we're facing a lot of challenges. We've got a lot of growth that's going on. We have a lot of traffic. We have, the water quality issue that we have to deal with. And we have a lot of increase on our services, a lot of demands on our services. So I think that my experience, my leadership, my dedication can help us navigate these issues while preserving the character of our town in Londonderry.
That's important.
Londonderry to me is very important, and I love the fact that both my sons live in town, they work in town, and 6 beautiful grandchildren that are going to be going to our schools. 2 of them are already going to school, and 1's in kindergarten, and 3 more to follow. So, but that's why I'm running. I'm running on. I think I can help make a difference. I know I've gone to I go to a lot of council meetings, and I speak up there. I've gone to the budget hearings, and I know doing this, if the people do elect me to do this, it's different sitting on this side versus being on the other side. So I'm going to learn, listen. I do that really well, listening and solving issues. So.
Life experience.
Definitely.
Yeah, a lot of experience with life, and I've been very fortunate. The town has been very good to me. When I worked for the town, and whenever I would go to a business, and I'd ask for a donation for a program we were doing, without a doubt, these businesses were ready to step up. And that was nice. So I'd like to see more of that, like our Christmas lights when we did that. I was like, why can't we get volunteers to do it, And the response I would get would be, well, liability. There's liability in everything. And it was nice to see Eric step up.
And they stepped up.
Eric
to do that. And to me, it's doing for the community, so.
Giving back.
Giving back to the
Definitely.
community.
Yeah.
It's a great community, but it's growing so fast. It's changed so much. When I came here, there was one light.
I was just thinking that, Dan.
Mammoth Road and 102. That was
Yep,
the light.
that's it.
That was it.
Yeah. And Shaw's was a big deal.
And when Shaw's came to town, that was like,
That was like,
oh my
whoa,
goodness,
we
we
made
got
it.
a grocery store in town. But people can develop their property, and it's just we have rules and regulations that need to follow. And I know we got a big development that possibly on the end of Auburn Road at some point. A lot of land there, so that's going to be a huge impact on, whether they put a PUD or not. It's still going to add a lot of traffic in that area. And it's still going to impact our schools and our services. It's pretty far away from all our services.
Yeah.
So,
Fire, police, all
yes.
of them.
Yep.
Yeah, really.
Yep.
Did you want to give out any info? Do you have any website or anything, or do you have anything on Facebook? Are you a Facebook person?
I am old school.
Okay.
People. I am old school. I don't do, like I've said at town council meetings, I don't go on Facebook. I don't get into the back and forth. If I have something to say, I will go and find you and say it to you.
There you go.
And I think that's important.
Definitely.
Unfortunately, sometimes Facebook and those other things can get carried away. So, I'm really easy to get a hold of. So, I'm still working in town a lot, with my business and stuff. So
So we can search you and find you, huh?
Yes.
You are
Oh,
always
goodness
around, yeah,
gracious,
always,
yes.
which is nice.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, is there anything else you want to just tell our viewers as far as voting for you or anything? And
I just appreciate all the support I had when I worked for the community for 28 years, and I would love the support to get on the town council and again help the community of Londonderry. You know,
well said.
so
Well, Dan, we thank you for,
Thank
all
you for
you've done
coming.
for the community, and we thank you for being with us tonight. So, thank you very much.
Okay.
You did great.
all right.
All right. Welcome back to the Londonderry View, our special edition. And we have our Kevin Gray with us, and he is running for our school board. So Kevin, thank you so much for being on the Londonderry View with us. Wonderful to have you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being on here.
And you have Londonderry blue on, which for
I
me is
am.
like a
Yes.
wow. That looks
Absolutely,
great.
representing
Yeah.
the storm.
There you go.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, so tell us why you're running and a little bit about your
Sure.
experiences and
Absolutely.
yeah.
So first, I think I'll start off by saying I think we have a fantastic board as a whole right now. I couldn't begin to talk about what I've been doing there without mentioning how great the other 4 members of the school board right now really are. They all bring a unique strength to the board. Very respectful conversation, all pulling in the same direction for the students and for the town, and it's really remarkable to be a part of it. And I can't say enough about them to start with. So I need to start with that. As for my personal experience, I have really loved being on the board. Got a chance to really get inside the schools, see what's going on, become a part of I think really moving in the right direction. If you look at where the school district is right now, we've in the last 3 years, budgets have come in at very, very close to level funded, and this year actually level funded. Very smart decisions being made on where to invest. We've gone through, we have a master plan for the building so that we can get a good outlook on that and where we should spend and where we need to think about future work. We've got a field study that was done so we can take that same approach for our fields and really think about how we're going to do that in a strategic way. We just completed a special education audit with an outside firm to take a look and say, hey, are there places where we can do better, where we can maybe be more efficient in how we're spending so that we can get more out of what taxpayers are allowing us to work with here. And I really think we're heading in the right direction. One of the biggest things obviously coming up for anyone who's been reading the newspaper or listening to social media at all, probably seeing that we have the kindergarten bond coming on there, which has been a long, challenging journey, to say the least. Last year, we came to the town with a full build out of Moose Hill that was right sized for what we knew at the time. The goal was to keep these students in the kindergarten, full day kindergarten, all contained at Moose Hill. We went to the town, went to the voters. It got a little over 50% support, which wasn't enough for it to pass. So we came back, we listened to what the town had to say, said, okay, they sounded like to us, they liked the idea, but maybe that cost was a little too high, and heard that. So we came back with that, and then in tandem, the enrollment came back for a second year a little bit down. So that opened up a few more options, and we ended up taking a good long look at all the different options that were on the table. We ended up going through, I believe it was 8 different, really in depth on 8 different scenarios to see what would really work best for kindergarten. A few of the ones we started with, we revisited the original bond that we went to last year, and we said, no, taxpayers have spoken, we want to look at some other options. So we kind of moved down, so what if we scaled it back, knowing we have lower enrollments, where does that cost bring us if we go with the scaled back version of that? That still came in at a pretty pricey amount. I think it was right around 20 million, give or take, which was, less, but not markedly less than what we're looking for, especially not knowing where the price of construction is going to be in the next few years, as we would have to draw from the bond and move forward with that. So we started investigating some other options. A few of them, and I have some my notes here so I don't mess these up.
Yeah.
A few of them were looking at what if we did a combination of some full-day classes in Moose Hill and then some at North School, some at South School, using some of the space because of the lower enrollment that we had available to us. we considered that, but what we didn't really want to do was come in a situation where we had some kids at Moose Hill and some kids at the local schools, and there was that kind of mix between the two. Then we'd have to talk about, like, parents would want their kids to be, perhaps some parents want them in the local schools, but they are districted to be at Moose Hill, or vice versa.
That's so true, right?
And you really want to make sure that everyone has the same fair and balanced
Yeah.
options and abilities there. So we kind of said, let's see what else is out there. So as we looked through, we ended up looking at some commercial space, because with the rising cost of construction, the kind of opposite side of that was commercial spaces were going down a bit. So we dug in and investigated that. Wasn't a bad idea from the cost of purchase, but in order to take that building up to what would be needed to house students, to like a school level building, there was a lot of work that needed to go into it. Plus then you also had the having to replicate the staff that would have been at Moose Hill in a second location, right? So really what came out to, that was gonna be around 20 million itself, and then another million for staff. So that actually pushed it higher than even the small build one. Next, we went and looked at high school, and what if we moved LEAP into the high school? But then a lot of problems came up about what we'd have to do at the high school to be able to separate the spaces because of what they needed. We looked at, then we started looking at 2 modular options. Now, modular options at this point, I know when I first think about it, I think of like my childhood, which is a long time ago. And what those what they called portable at the time.
Portables, that's right.
Right?
Exactly.
Portables.
Yeah.
And then you look at what they have now is the modular construction, and they are amazing. They're 40, 50 years rated. They are nicer than the rooms in the buildings. They've got heat along with air conditioning. They've got plumbing and all that. They build them. They're actually set on a concrete base, so they're fully in place. They're not like a one that you think of like sometimes the portable trailer type things. No, they're full set in. They have the facade that matches the building. Hallways are connected. So it really is like a room added right onto it, just fabricated somewhere else.
And brought
put
in.
right,
Wow.
which reduces the cost of construction significantly. So we looked at that and said, what would we need to do, knowing we had declining enrollment, at the different local schools? And when we did that, what we did is we came up with a number that was actually only around 9 million to do that. And as a
Considerably
side
less.
effect, obviously the first thing we're looking at was students, and how can we get full AK in at a cost that will be palatable to the town. But a side effect of that is we had some extra space at Moose Hill then, which we happen to have a district office lease coming up. And it was kind of a nice confluence of events there where we could take a portion, not the majority, but a portion of that extra space at Moose Hill, and then retrofit it to be office space. And now we can get district office into Moose Hill, which is centralized to town and to where all the schools
is
are, as
nice.
opposed to out in Kitty Hawk.
Yeah.
Way out there, right?
Yeah.
And we can also get that lease off.
Right. Oh,
Between all of this, that option actually brought it so that 3 years after this bond goes on, we'll be in the black, because you'll be saving money from those midday bus runs, about $280,000. You'll be saving the district office lease for about $270,000.
oh wow.
Plus, the state has an adequacy grants, or I believe that's what it's called. Essentially, there's per pupil in kindergarten, they will pay you aid. And when you do it for about 200 students, that's an extra $450,000 that comes in. All of those added together, not just offset the bond, but actually bring in more funds than prior. So we kind of looked at this and said, this seems like a winning plan.
This-
And that's what we're going to the ballot with, and
Absolutely.
we're really hoping to accomplish. And honestly, part of, I would really like to see that through. I'd like to be on for another 3 years to really get in there, work with the schools, work with the teachers, work with district office to make sure they have everything they need for it to be successful, make sure they're keeping the culture of Moose Hill at the individual schools. Bringing those traditions with them, and also allowing for them to get together at times, right? Let's
Oh,
bring them
nice.
together. Let's bring them back to Moose Hill. We still have space there that we
Right.
can bring back for
For
different
group, to bring all
assemblies
the
and things like that.
kindergartners together.
Exactly.
So they get to know each other and
Absolutely. So they'll have their home local schools where they'll be a part of that community, but also part of the larger kindergarten community. And I really think it's a win-win across the board for everyone.
Most definitely.
absolutely sounds like it.
Yeah. So that's one of
Yeah.
the, probably the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to.
Because you've been at the beginning and
So I've been through
Following
one.
Yeah.
Actually, as part of it, I was on the kindergarten committee, along with a number of other committees I've been on, the CIP committees for the town projects. I've been a liaison to multiple PTAs. part of the teacher contract negotiations, which was another big one that's going to be on the ballot. A really good contract for both the schools and the teachers. Gives a chance for the teachers. We really recognize the kind of the entry-level salaries weren't up to snuff with the other schools around we're competing with. So we got that into the contract. It's going to be on there. Just a lot of great things going on.
Yeah, you've been involved a lot in town. Raised your family here, all those good things.
I have my family here. I'm on the board of the lacrosse board and the basketball board.
I knew there was
I
about
coached the
sports.
school football
and-
team,
yeah,
coached the
there you
basketball
go.
team, the lacrosse team.
Right.
So
Very humble about it, but
try
there's a
to
lot
stay
there.
low. I just love
Yeah.
every part of it. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, it is.
Well, did you
Passion.
want to say any last words to our viewers about voting for you? And
Yeah,
come on
I
out
mean,
and
I
vote?
would obviously, I appreciate everyone's consideration, and always feel free to reach out to me directly. I would love to meet up, grab a cup of coffee, call on the phone, message me, Kevin for Londonderry on Facebook. You can find me. But yeah, absolutely, I'm happy to answer anyone's questions. I love talking to people. I get in the schools all the time. I love being in there, and I love being with people.
Wonderful.
I think that was well
It was
put.
very, very
Great
nice having you
job,
here
yeah.
tonight.
It's been a pleasure being here.
Thank you so much, Kevin. We appreciate it and you. So,
Thank you.
good night. Welcome back to our Londonderry View, our special editions of our candidates who are running for our town and school election, March 11th. Coming up, polls open at 6 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. So we hope to see you there. And Tom Dolan is running as our treasurer, and we're honored to have you tonight, Tom. Thank you.
Welcome.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on. And just share a little bit about
Sure.
your story.
Most of you probably know me. I've been around quite a while, a number of years. I served on the town council for 6 terms, budget committee for a term. Been my 4th term at the State House as a state rep. So I've been through many elections. This is unusual for me this time because I'm running unopposed, and this is the first time that's happened. I'd rather have competition. I think it's more healthy for the process to have more of a lively debate. But it is what it is, and I can't control that part of it. I can tell you that I've started as a teenager, went to West Point and began to serve my country at West Point and in the Army. Eventually came back and settled in Londonderry. Had a young family. My children went to school in Londonderry in the public school. My wife's many of you know her as a school teacher at Matthew Thornton. My wife Kate. She's now retired. So my pedigree in Londonderry is long, but it's pretty even keel. I've always been someone who has, I hopefully brought common sense to the offices that I've held, and I like, without insulting anybody, I like to think that I'm the adult in the room, and can make sense out of sticky situations when they happen to arise. And we have, right now in town politics, we have a little unrest, and hopefully that'll settle down. We've got some good candidates that are running, and hopefully, like I said, I can bring some my experience both at the town level, at the state level, back into the community now as the treasurer. This is a role that's not a policy role. The treasurer is not someone that decides policy. The treasurer is more there to execute decisions that have been made by the policymakers. The town council and the town manager are the primary decision makers for spending money, which the town treasurer needs to execute and to disperse properly and quickly. But there are other boards that have lesser roles, but still have decision-making power, like the different commissions, like the Conservation Commission, the Heritage Commission, and so forth. They also can spend money, and it's usually to a much lesser extent, but it still is something that they do. And again, the town treasurer is supposed to make sure that the money is paid out on time to the right people, and done with all the legality that is afforded to the community through the Department of Revenue at the state, which again, I have a relationship with those folks being a state rep, so that helps in that regard as well. There is another role that the town treasurer has. It's a smaller role, but it's no less important, and that's to make sure that money in the town is invested properly, that is not going to actually run the town from day to day, but is put in a bank and has to go in certain kinds of banks, and hopefully at the highest interest rate that we can get that is still secure and guarantees the taxpayers that money's coming back to them someday. Again, the role of the town treasurer is really as a trusted custodial member of the community to make sure that the money in the town is spent properly and is dispersed on time and to the right individuals. So, any of you have questions for me that curious about?
I'm glad that you explained it because I don't think a lot of people know what the
No.
treasurer actually does in the town. So that was good. Good
Truly,
to know.
yeah.
Yeah, the treasurer it's a role that is, like you said, is not well understood, but it is carefully controlled by the state. The state has certain regulations and certain RSAs or laws, state laws, that govern how certain things are done. Basically, the finances. The town treasurer works very closely with the town finance officer to make sure that things are done properly, and also has somewhat of a handshake relationship with the school treasurer, because the school treasurer does much of the same thing, but under the school board's direction and the money that the school controls. Interestingly enough, the town treasurer sees all the money coming into the town. In our town, it's around $100 million a year,
Passes through our office.
Yeah.
and it has to make sure that the school gets its portion, so that they can spend the money that they have to spend. But it first comes to the town, and then dispersed out, in this case, to the school.
It's so involved.
John Conley is the school treasurer.
That's right.
You
Cindy says him,
might
right, yeah.
remember that name.
Another good man.
And I believe he's running again as well, I believe.
Yes, yeah.
And I don't think he's running opposed.
No, I think both of you are unopposed this time.
So the things you're looking for in a treasurer, in both of those treasurer spots, are level-headedness, honesty, no problems with conflicts of interest. Those are the things that you want to look for in a treasurer, and I think I bring that to the table.
Absolutely you
Most
do.
definitely. Most definitely.
Absolutely. Right, and then your name also goes on the checks, doesn't it,
It
Tom?
does, right.
I think that's kind of neat to see,
Right.
that it's, that,
And how often do you have to come into the town hall, or is it something that's remote, or how does it all
question,
work
Yeah,
as far as the payments go?
At least weekly,
Weekly?
but it can be more often than that. Again, it's a direct communication with the town finance officer.
with our Justin Campo,
Right, Justin
yeah.
Campo, to see if he has a question, or if he needs something. I can, I've been living in town back since the mid-'80s, so it's not a far ride down. It's about about a mile down the road from me. I live behind the kindergarten, so I'm pretty close. But if Justin needs me, I'm right here. Or if I need him, if I have a question about an order to disperse funds for example, from the town council, and I'm not understanding what exactly that they want, then I can sit with the finance officer, and we can go through it and make sure that everything is up to speed and done right.
That's good.
Very important role,
It is
though.
very important.
And
So-
historically, it's always been part of towns in our town, which,
Yeah, right.
it's,
So our department brings in all the money, and we handle it all coming in, and you handle it all going out.
Right. Well, years ago,
The checks and
it was
balances.
very fragmented, and we found that when I was in the council, we found that unsatisfactory, where many parts of the town would be collecting money for various reasons. If you wanted a permit to have a fire, or if you wanted to collect money for whatever reason, different parts of the community were collecting money, and then we had to kind of round all this money up in the
Uh-huh.
clerk's office.
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
And so we changed that several years ago to say that we're only going to have one organization collect money,
Yeah.
and that's at the clerk's office.
Yes. That's what
Wow.
we see.
We're
We
honored
see
to do
everybody.
it.
Right.
Yeah,
We-
We see
everybody.
everyone.
We had an auditor one time actually recommend that to us, and you need to get control of all these different pieces. And then they weren't large amounts of money. We're not talking about thousands of dollars people paying their tax bill. We're talking about those things where you have
Right, yeah.
a cash draw,
cash,
a petty cash
cash.
draw. I say, oh, no, we don't do that
Yeah,
anymore.
no, it's not a good idea.
It's a good way to lose control,
control.
of
Yeah.
your finances.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's a good thing now. There's so many checks and balances, and we have software programs that monitor, and we check
We
each
balance
other.
every day.
I mean,
Everything is, yeah,
and,
it's-
and then everything we do
yeah.
passes into finance, and they check everything there, and then we have our state auditors. So
One thing we started doing, in fact, it was at my suggestion several years ago, was that we started registering people's boats for them in town. That was something
we
that
do
we,
that.
we weren't doing. You had to go to the state to do that until, I don't know, was it 7 or 8 years ago?
Not that long ago,
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
and it brings an extra revenue for our
For
town.
us, yeah.
And we don't have a lake or a body of water in Londonderry, but we have lots of boats.
Sure.
Much more convenient for our residents
is,
too,
right.
Tom, you know?
It's so different than the nearest thing you can compare it to is Massachusetts, where you go to the Department of Registry and you sit in a chair for about 3 hours before you talk to somebody.
Yeah.
We now go to our own community, the town, and people are pleasant and they're easy to deal with, and it just takes a few minutes to get
Yeah,
your stuff done.
yeah.
Well, it was wonderful having you here today.
Yes.
Well, thank you for having me.
Tom. Boy, you really, I was not, but you did great on the time, too.
Oh.
That's a proof. You did great, and we're honored, and we thank you for the service that you've already given and that you're willing to continue. You know, it's wonderful. We're very blessed to have you in the town.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing you in the town hall more often.
Yes. And everyone, we're back on the Londonderry View Special Edition, and next we have with us Maria Barut, and she's running for our library trustee position. Maria, it's really nice to have you with us on the show.
Welcome.
Thank you very much,
Welcome.
ladies. Thank you.
And you just take some time and share with the viewers, who you are, why you're running, and all those good things.
So I'll just introduce myself. I'm Maria Barud. I'm an international trade compliance officer with a passion for detail and research, and I've been a resident of Londonderry since 2012. And I'm excited to bring my professional skills and passion for Londonderry to take my candidacy for Leach Library trustee.
Very nice.
And as an international trade compliance officer, I have a very deep understanding of laws and regulations and research. And my job requires big attention to detail, which I plan to use to explore different grants for the library to help it grow and thrive. A little bit of background, when I first moved from the US, from Poland to US, libraries were a really critical resource for me. It helped me with learning English, helped me with finding jobs.
Oh, wow.
It's a great research opportunity because I didn't know too many people, and when I went to college here, I spent a lot of time in the libraries. And ever since we moved to Londonderry with my kids, the library was invaluable for everything, and it was like a hub for knowledge and community. So that's why I'm running for the library trustee, because I like to give back. And I'm very involved in the community, and currently I'm a trustee of the cemeteries. So it's really, I feel very important to give back and to get involved. And currently for the trustees, we have, I think, 8 candidates. And it's very encouraging, actually, because for years back, we couldn't find anybody.
Couldn't find anyone to run. Yeah, exactly.
So now I'm happy that people are getting involved, people are
Yeah.
getting interested. A lot of people come to the trustee meetings. I see more people in the deliberative session.
Yes.
A few years back,
Yeah.
there was maybe 30 people.
Yes, yeah, and
Now we
30
have almost full
employees,
house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was nice too. last
So I
Saturday.
like seeing that because ever since I became U.S. citizen, I believe that we need to use our civic duty and give back and be involved. And if I can, I try to give back. And library is this nice place where everybody comes together. You have people with different opinions that come and share and talk, and it's important to volunteer. So I do quite a lot of it.
Yeah, you
I
do,
see you other.
You do a lot of
Yes,
volunteering.
you go to the council meetings, and you're always at the different meetings, and that's knowledge, power. You
yeah.
know, it's like you know like what's going on, and yeah, it's nice.
So I have a couple main goals that I would like to contribute to the library. So one of my key goals is to encourage like open communication between the library and the community. And I believe that library should be transparent and collaborative space where all the voices can be heard. We have a lot of division in the country, and I would like library to remain that neutral place where everybody can find something for themselves, find a community, and library provides so many wonderful programs for all the ages and different educational programs and the reading and like during the Christmas we had that beautiful bells concert. So it's, and I see a lot of elderly people come in and they found a sense of community. People are saying that now with the technology, maybe the libraries are a thing of the past. And I believe that libraries should always remain. Because yes, we have a huge access to the online data, but having that place, that solid place that we come in and see people and recognize the library workers and the ever-present our director there, it's important because kids look forward to going there to see the program. So I think that's why it's important that we as a community give back. And here comes another part of my goals. I would like to work closely with the director to ensure that the library thrives financially and while being responsible with the taxpayers' money. Because I know many Londonderry residents are concerned about rising taxes, and it's a big concern of mine. That's why my goal is to help source any grants and fundraising opportunities. This will allow to help library grow while being responsible with taxpayers' money, not placing a burden, because there is so many opportunities to bring, let's say, just new computers or books or activities or laser printers for the library. We can get it from the grants.
There's money out there.
There's
It's
money.
just getting it. You gotta. Yeah,
There's
it's-
money out there, and I
Somebody
know.
has to be willing to go and do it. Yeah.
And I know Friends of the Library, which I'm a member of, work really hard to bring different fundraisers, but there's always more. So while if elected, I'll be working on that. If not elected, I'll still be actively
working on it. That's the nice attitude too.
Because there is library can be a center of help students with the trades. That was my big importance of the library too, because there's so much technical information you can get there. But library is a space where you can invite different presentations from people from the trades.
Yes.
And hopefully then also use the government grants to help those programs without burdening the taxpayers. And library will still continue to thrive and grow, but we're being responsible with the taxpayers' money. So that's my goal, and that's what I would like to try to help out. I would like to also bring a note to the viewers that in upcoming elections there's 2 grants put in by the library for a full-time position for the librarian in the children's room, and an option, more cost-effective option for part-time.
So I'm hoping that the residents will help library, and pick whichever option, because whichever option passes has most votes will pass. But it's important that the residents look into it, and I hope like everybody votes.
Yeah, and make a decision that
Yes.
that they feels right. Yeah, because we do have a beautiful children's room.
Yes.
It's where we met when we first, so the kids were little. We met some of our dearest friends there, Marie. You know, and the kids are the same age, and the moms are looking to meet other people. You know, and it's never changed. Always.
community.
Yeah.
It's a community, yep.
That's a good word for it, Debbie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really safe haven in so many ways. You know,
I
but
think a lot of people in America, we seem to get used to having all this. We don't realize how important it is that so many other countries don't
Yes.
have that. And, you know, it makes it nice when someone like yourself will say, you know, this is really important.
Yes.
You know, it is, because we take it for granted sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and this libraries, it's been always a staple with my kids' childhood, because we would come here. My daughter loves it. In the fall, we actually volunteered to plant mums in the front of the library. And my daughter helped me out with it. She was really happy. And every time we went to the library, like, I planted those. So I'm trying to get them encouraged to help out, to give back to the community, because they get so much from it.
That's good.
So,
I think that's beautifully put. To give back because we get so much from it.
Yes.
That's really nice.
Yes.
Well, if you'd like to just tell our viewers one last thing about giving you the vote there that you're looking for.
So regardless of the outcome of the election, my involvement in the community won't stop, and I will always contribute to the projects, and because I truly believe that we can achieve a lot together. And on March 11, I ask you to support my candidacy for Leach Library Trustee, so I can help it grow and thrive and give back to the community.
Well said.
Well, thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much, ladies. Yeah.
Welcome back to the special edition of the Londonderry View. Next we have with us Ann Fenn, who is running for our library trustee position. And Ann, thank you so much for being here with us tonight on The View.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I guess I should say what I'm running for. That might be helpful. I'm running for one of the 3 positions as a trustee at the library, local library. I've lived in Londonderry for over 30 years, and my family has always been a patron of the library. When we first moved here, it was one of the first places that we went, and we all got our cards and have been active with the library ever since. I think it's an amazing gathering place and a resource for all of us. It seems to me it's sort of like the community center for the town of Londonderry.
Well put, it really is, of all ages.
Of all ages. Yeah. And it's a great way for the diversity of the community to come together and enjoy each other as well as to learn. My professional background, in a nutshell, really is working in Washington and Boston for the U.S. Congress and the Environmental Protection Agency. So I'm very familiar with working with federal, state, and local entities and structures, which I think would be helpful in this position. I've also worked extensively with and been asked to participate on a number of not-for-profit boards since I was in high school, really. Here in town, I've worked on the PFAS Water Committee, the Utility Committee. I've worked on, we have a board called the Isles of Shoals or Star Island Corporation Board. Have you all ever heard of Star Island?
Yes,
I
I've heard
want
of
to take the boat
Yeah,
over
I've been
there.
over, yeah.
It's writers and artists, and you've been over there.
Oh, it's
what a-
fantastic. Yeah, it's a great place. So I've been working with that group for 20, 30 years. I also work with a group called the Porter Phelps Huntington Historical Society, which is out in Western Mass. which involves sort of my family history and ancestry because of the name Huntington. So my father said, Anne, you've got to step in and become a part of this group. So I said, okay, Dad.
Oh, that's pretty wonderful. Like I said, I like, yeah.
I've also participated in a group called the Cambridge Shakespeare Society, which is actually in Cambridge, Mass. And they get together once a month and we read the different Shakespeare plays. And it's great because you have to practice before you read. Very seriously, everybody practices so that we can get the acting, the words correct, the tone correct. Oh yeah, we're acting it out. Yeah, so that's been fun. That's a great group of folks. And then usually afterwards we talk about the plays and the history of the plays. So, and one of the things I was actually impressed with our library is recently I went and met with Aaron. So now, Aaron, do you have Shakespeare plays here? Because I'm often needing to go and get the plays. And you go to, say, bookstores, Barnes & Noble bookstores and things like that, and you can't get the older, the plays.
Wow.
Or they're versions that aren't the versions that this Shakespeare Society wants you to have. They want you to, yeah. They actually want you to have the Penguin version, which you can get at the Harvard Coop.
Right, right. That's right. Oh my goodness. But, and did our library have some of those things?
Our library had it.
Oh, it's
It was great.
wonderful.
It was
That's
great, very
really
helpful.
nice. That is.
My family has also been, so they're all teachers, academicians, and ministers. We have 5 generations of Unitarian ministers in my family. So I've been involved with the Unitarian Church and Unitarian boards and LRYs and things like that for a long time, since I was in high school.
That's pretty. Wow.
So all of that experience kind of helps in working with the diversity of people in a variety of different situations and circumstances and a variety of different issues.
Yeah, it really does.
I also am kind of interested in the library position because I worked as a Montessori teacher for a while. And I almost went, instead of going into sort of the political realm and the environmental realm, I almost went was a Montessori teacher right after high school.
Did you really?
Yeah. Because I like
type
kids.
of- yeah, and it's such an individual learning style and
And I think that with that history and that background, I think it would be fun to get involved with the kids' library section and to come up with more activities that the kids can get involved with. There's certain books that they might particularly enjoy for different age groups. So I think that would be kind of a kick, and I'd enjoy doing that with the kids. And I think that that's about it as to why. I must say that I'm pleased that there are so many people who are running for this position. It's great. 8 people for 3 positions.
yes,
Dynamite.
it's a first, I think, that I'm aware of. You know, all that great energy and positive and thinking about our library.
And it's community oriented. It's one of the reasons why I like the library, and it helps to bring people together rather than encourage people to get into their polarized sort of ways.
Yes, it's so true.
Yes, yes. It's a nice, safe spot to go
Yeah.
to, not have to worry about any of that
All
stuff.
the other things, and it's free.
And it's
You know,
free.
It's free.
Dynamite,
Yeah,
and the
it's-
people at the library, I'm so impressed with their backgrounds. All of them have masters in library science, which is not easy to
No,
obtain.
my
One of my best
goodness.
friends is library science masters, and it's not easy to obtain.
Obtain that.
Yeah, so I'm impressed that we have such qualified professional folks running our library.
And they're
We
always
really
warm
do.
and inviting, and you know, and Erin as our director,
She's
you know,
fantastic.
welcoming, and brings so many great programs to all of us.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
a fun question, Anne. Do you have a favorite book?
Do I have a favorite book? Oh, I have quite a few favorite books. I usually get into a writer and then read all that writer's books.
That's, yeah.
Like I like Pat Conroy from the South. I definitely like Shakespeare. I enjoy Hemingway. And actually, Hemingway's, a lot of his early drafts of his material is at the JFK Library in Boston.
Oh, wow.
So you can actually go to the library and ask to see some of the early drafts of his books, as well as a whole slew of material of his
That's
material.
wonderful.
His
Oh, my goodness.
wife, one of his wives, donated because he felt so close to President Kennedy and the family. They donated all of his material to that library.
Wow.
And so you can actually ask and go upstairs and see it.
That, my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wish it was a little closer, but
Yes.
not too
Yeah.
far.
No,
Still
and there's,
now
it's
we're-
great
yeah.
in the
In
springtime
spring
and in the
view
summer.
of the water there, and yeah, beautiful though.
Fantastic.
Yeah, the Londonderry View's going to have
I
to
know,
go
we're going to
there.
have to go there.
You-
We got some on-site things coming up, so that's good.
Boy,
Well, if you wanted to speak to the viewers and just throw it out there for your
Sure,
vote, for their
sure.
vote.
Well, I hope you'll vote for me as library trustee. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to working with the other trustees and with the folks in the library, listening to the things that the community are interested in and how they would like to expand or grow the library. I think it's a great cooperative endeavor, and I hope to be a part of it. So I would
Wonderful.
definitely appreciate your vote.
Well
said.
done, well
Thank you for
said.
being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Next, we have with us our Tom Croteau, who is running for our school moderator, and we're happy to have Tom with us tonight on the Londonderry View. So, Tom, thank
Welcome.
you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Welcome.
Yeah.
So, share a little bit with our viewers about why you're running and all of the good things that you do.
Sure, yeah. So I've lived in Londonderry for about 14 years now. My wife grew up in Londonderry, so she went through the Londonderry school system, and we thought it would be a great place to raise our kids. So far, it's worked out really well. I have 2 kids in the Londonderry school system, a son in 10th grade and a daughter in 6th grade. So yeah, I'm very vested in how the town works and how the school works and the outcomes of that. So I'm running because my background professionally, I am a project manager, program manager. I've just very comfortable running large meetings in front of executives, big groups of people. And of course, running the deliberative is the
Is the
primary
big one.
job of the school moderator.
Yes.
So I feel like my skill set, that's a good place for me. With just the opportunity to kind of give back to the community that's been good to us. So that's why I'm running. Most people probably know me from my Christmas light show on
I know,
Otterson.
we do.
Yeah, that's
We're on his list.
yeah. So I know, most people, they may not know me personally, but they know of our Christmas light show that we do every year, and we enjoy doing that for the community as well. If you don't know me from that, you might know me from my kids' sports or Boy Scouts or things like that I've been involved in over the years. So yeah, just another. My kids are starting to get a little older. I'm starting to have a little bit more bandwidth where I can start to do a little bit more. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
And your Christmas light show too. Now that you mentioned
Yes.
that, there's always a donation. You pick a nonprofit, a charity, and we can drive by as many times as we
Yeah,
want
yeah.
and just enjoy and get in the spirit. And for families, it's another thing like our library. It's free, and it's just and I can't imagine the hard work that it is to make
It takes
that.
a little bit of time.
Yeah,
it
it takes.
does.
How many years have you been doing it?
We started in, it's funny how much it's grown too, but we started it in 2018, I believe.
Wow.
much smaller when we started it, and it was very popular then. And of course, we've grown it every year, and we expand it and add to it, and that's it's just fun.
Nice
I enjoy
gift to
doing
the
it.
community.
It is
And
much,
Deb, your
yeah.
house,
Oh yes,
Yeah.
we drive
Yeah,
by
we
your
always
house.
That's
Yeah.
every
all
year.
Deb and
Yes.
Roger. It's
Yes.
like
It's
just
something
a
nice.
gift.
It's
Yeah.
wonderful. It's just so happy. Everybody's happy when they see the
happy,
lights.
and
Yeah,
positive.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just
Yeah, we
awesome.
have friends over on Colonial, so we
Go right
come through
around.
yeah, we always see your house when we go to see them. Yeah, it's great.
Not beautiful, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just the gist of why I'm running, and what kind of drew me in here. So I guess.
and being part of like the town and school elections.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've been very plugged into the community for a number of years. I've taken some kind of strong and sometimes agreeable, sometimes more controversial positions on some town and school issues. The nice thing about the school moderator is my opinion on those things really doesn't matter, because I'm not implementing policy. I'm facilitating a meeting, a discussion, ensuring that the elections are run properly, and that's really the goal.
Yeah.
So.
And thank goodness there's so many laws, RSAs, that we have to follow.
Absolutely.
So, even if we might want to do something one way, thank goodness the RSAs for our state
Very
are
clear.
there.
Very
and
clear.
it's very helpful.
Yes, absolutely.
It's wonderful we have those. But
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we have our next one coming up March 11th. It's going to be here in a little less than a month, actually. And as we've mentioned before, polls open at 6 and close at 8, 8 p.m. in the evening. But so.
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to ask was, I've never quite know I know what our town moderator, of course, with the deliberative of everything. What else is it that you would do besides the election itself?
Yeah, I mean, that's the primary
thing,
that's
right?
The
That's what I was
primary
trying to
function
figure out,
is
yeah.
to run the school deliberative
And then
and
the-
certify the school election.
Okay, that's
and
it,
and of course swearing in the different elected people on the school side.
On
of
the
it.
school
Yeah.
side, okay,
Yeah.
that's what I was, because basically what Jonathan does on our
Yes.
on the other
Yeah.
side.
But
Okay.
his is a much, he
general,
ultimately
yeah.
runs the election. I'll probably be more of a shadow to Jonathan.
Okay.
than I
That's
would-
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's very important because they're all on the ballot. So
Yes,
it's,
that's
sure.
exactly
most
right.
definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Most
And
definitely.
it's helpful to have, the school board too has been wonderful about they share in these times with us and volunteer, and it really brings the school
Yeah.
and town together too.
Oh, it's great
which is
seeing-
really nice.
Yeah, it's great seeing the school elected officials helping out with all
Oh,
the town
yeah.
and state and federal elections.
Yeah, 'cause it's not just the school in
Yeah.
town, they're there for our state, our fed, which
Right,
is
everybody
really
puts
nice
aside
to
their
see.
political beliefs and things like that and
Yeah.
works
Yeah.
together
Yeah.
to make sure everything runs smoothly.
Nonpartisan,
Yeah,
which
yeah. I
is
see the
wonderful.
see the school board members and
Yeah.
others there, and
That's
yeah,
very
it's
good.
great.
It
Yeah.
really is
It
great to
is,
be a part of, but no. But it is interesting to think of like the school moderator, the town
Yeah,
moderator,
yeah.
But it's a wonderful place to learn from and
It's
get
excellent.
involved with.
Yeah.
Well, if you'd like to speak to our viewers and just let them know exactly, give me your vote and
Sure. Yeah, so, as you all know, the town and school elections are coming right up, and I'd very much appreciate your vote March 11th for school moderator. I look forward to the opportunity to serve the community and be your moderator. Yeah.
very good. Well, it
And
was
if any websites or anything you want to mention?
I do have a Facebook page where you can see I have a statement on there, and if I get the opportunity to post anything else, I'll put it on there. If you look me up on Facebook as Tom Croteau, School District Moderator, you should find me.
Perfect.
And we'll put it on the
And I'll
screen
put
for
the link
everybody.
up. Yes, yeah, I'll share the link as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Tom, thank you for
wonderful
being
having
willing
you.
to serve.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you all.
Yeah.
Great meeting you all. Yeah, thank you.
Welcome back to the Londonderry View Special Edition. And we have our Linda Lampkin with us, who is running for Library Trustee. And Linda, thank you for
Welcome.
being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Ah.
So I guess just a little bit about me. I've lived in town since '98. I am in upstate New York transfer.
Yes.
I have worked the last 27 years of my life in either public or school libraries here in this district, in Derry's district, in Sandown. I have a huge love of reading anything that has to do with the library because I feel like if there's one place in town that's open to everybody, it's the library. So that's me. This is the first time I'm running for anything.
Yeah, good.
I did have a Girl Scout troop many years ago. Hello, 621. The troop lasted for 12 years, right from first grade right through to the girls graduated high school. I've seen many of them get married, have their own families, you know, still have that connection. Have a connection in town. Wherever I go, somebody seems to know me.
That is true.
Boy, my life is kind of short. In June of last year, the school that I worked at decided to close. I took a year off, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Saw this in the paper in January and decided it was time. I hadn't been able to do anything volunteer-wise for the town in a while.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I guess it's a popular position. So that's me. Any questions from you ladies?
Most of the question would be just like, what brought you to run? What would
Okay.
you like to see the library as far as improvements, or like what would you do as a trustee to,
Honestly,
help out the library?
I do have to say I've been lucky enough to be here for the last administration for the library and our administration now that's in the library. Two totally different administrations, both fantastic. But what I love is the fact that now we're seeing more come and, hang out, come and do this, offering not just adult courses and story time, but Duplo block time, Dungeons and Dragons for some of the older kids, reading groups, not just for kids, but for adults. The cooking class, who would have thought, I heard the cookie one was a huge success. I've gone to the craft classes. I've gone to the terrarium classes. It just, it's exploded for the town. And the doors are always open, whether, you just want to go and get away.
Sure, a little haven.
A little haven.
Yeah.
It's got a wonderful children's room, which we all know about. It's got that great room down in the basement where you can go and spend all your money and buy lots of books and then donate them back to the library. It's got a wonderful circulation, and cataloging. They updated their software a couple years ago, so it's basically the same software that every school district uses and every public library in southern New Hampshire uses. So you can get one of these passes where you belong to multiple libraries, and you don't have to worry about what your computer system is. It's all the same. It's bright, it's clean, the windows, it's just a great place to be. And everybody's on an equal footing.
That's good.
That's
That's really
beautiful.
good.
It really is, and it's inviting. It's like what
It's
you're-
very
Yeah,
inviting,
like the-
and
yeah.
and they really work hard to bring people in. It's amazing to see when there's an early release from school, or when it's my kids have been out of school since 2010, exam week, when you see so many kids from the high school over there, walking over to the library, hanging out at the library, waiting to be picked up. But either way, they feel comfortable enough to go in, and if they're comfortable enough to go in, they just might borrow something.
Yeah.
And that's where, your circulation goes up. Like I said, they have lots of classes, lots of things just open to everybody, and they're not afraid to try anything. Which I give a lot of credit to the staff that's there, and they're always right there when you walk in the door. They're hi, can I help
Yeah,
you?
that's
Or
very true.
Yes.
That's
usually
very
I
good
get,
point.
I'm one of those believers in libraries are a place to be excited about, and then I tend to get loud. But they're great staff over there. Their research, or their reference librarian's wonderful. The people in the children's room are great. They're just all really well like they're very confident in what they do,
really
and they really know what they're doing. So.
Yeah, with a great leader at the top.
With a great leader at the top.
So
So I kind of thought maybe since I'm so excited about libraries, I would, come and hopefully be on the board and add to it.
Yeah. That's,
So,
Oh, it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
thanks.
Do you have a favorite genre or book?
Believe it or not, outside of the multiple children's books that I own, I'm a huge horror fan.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting,
Stephen
Linda.
King, Joe Hill, Dean Koontz, Anne Rice.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Although I also read Nora Roberts and a few of the other ones that are out there. But yeah, that's my.
That's fun. That's a fun fact.
Yeah,
Carol.
Favorite horror book?
Wow. I would have to say, at this point in time, probably Joe Hill's Heart-Shaped Box.
Oh.
Joe Hill is Stephen King's son.
I didn't know that.
Yes, yeah, he's really a great writer.
know
And
that either.
his Stephen King's wife, Tabitha King, is also an author. She's very good.
Goodness.
But yeah, so I'm.
And don't they live in Maine or something?
Yeah.
They back and forth, but they do have a home in Maine. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
So
that's
Joe Hill's actually been at Barnes and Noble a couple of times.
his son.
Yeah.
And do they all write horror, or is it a little variety?
It's all a version of horror. So yeah, Joe Hill's to me is a little more psychological than Stephen King,
Oh,
but
wow.
And I bet
yeah.
our library has all the
oh, they
offerings,
do.
right?
They have them
That's-
all.
I love that. Boy. That's and how about any children's ones? I'm thinking back to when we were
yeah, back to when
when
we
the-
were
when
yeah.
the kids were younger and
I mean, I love Marty Kelly, who's from New Hampshire. He's got some great books. Of course, Eric Carle. Jan Brett is an amazing artist. Boy, you're catching me off
No,
guard.
you did great.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
named a
think
lot,
I could
yeah.
off the top of my head put on the spot. You did. That's wonderful.
And for some of our middle of the road there kids, some of our older kids, not quite high school, but I'm a big fan of pushing the Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys.
Oh, those
like
were
just to get
classics.
them
Yeah.
started, and then we can branch out from there because they had such great writing.
They really did.
And to me, for the kids to go from those beautiful colored pages with just a few words to these great classics that are mostly words in black and white pages, that's something to get used to, and it kind of moves them on to the other stuff.
I like that.
That's
Yes,
wonderful.
yeah.
That's wonderful.
Like the treehouse books and all.
Oh,
Remember
yes, the
those?
Magic
Oh, gosh,
Treehouse.
the
Yeah,
Magic Treehouse.
yep. And there's so many other ones that are out there now, and that's the great thing about this library. Like, you will walk in there and you will ask them for something, and they will get it. And they're very up. I don't know. I'm assuming it's Erin and her staff that does the choosing and the ordering. But the latest and greatest, she's got it all. And if the kids walk in and they ask for it, she's got it, they're going to come back.
Yeah, that's true. And then they have a waiting list. So
Oh, yes,
they'll
they
call
have their
you if
waiting
you're on the
list.
waiting
Yes,
list,
they all learn about how to be put on hold.
That's it. That's right. Have to wait a little.
Yes.
No, that's
Well, if you'd like to just talk to our viewers and just let them know that you'd like to have their vote, now's the time.
Thank you. This is my first time giving this a try. I would love your vote. Thank you, and see you all on March 11th.
Thank you.
That is the voting day, right?
Yes, it is.
Yep. Polls open at 6 and close at 8 p.m. So thank you for the shout out to people to come out and vote.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Londonderry View. And next we have with us our Erica Laue, and she is running for our library trustee position. Erica, thank you for
Welcome.
being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
So just take a few minutes and share with our viewers a little bit about yourself, why you're running, all those good things.
Sure. So I'm a resident here in town, obviously. I live here with my family. I have 2 elementary age kids here over at Matthew Thornton. And we're big library users. I grew up going to the library. I take my kids to the library all the time. We engage in a lot of the programming. We read a lot of books. I borrow a ton of audiobooks. I do a lot of long runs and long bike rides, and that's my entertainment, especially when I'm indoors in the snow. But so I wanted to run for library trustee because I wanted to give back to the library, because the library's always been there for me, and so I want to be able to be there for it. And part of that, part of why now is it feels like there's been a growing pressure against the library recently. Not only socially, like, oh, don't talk about this, don't have these subjects, ban these books, but also limiting funding, causing sort of strife and chaos within the library, and a lack of support for the library staff and the director, which I don't think is universal. I think actually that's not even remotely the majority in town, but it is something that's distressing to me, because I think as a resource for all of us, for every single member of the community, the library needs to be supported, and the library needs to have the resources available to it to be that resource for every single person, whether they are, a tiny baby being brought in by their parent for the very first time, whether they're a senior who this is a way to build community and connect and enjoy their retirement days, whether this is the busy parent who just wants to come in for 5 minutes of their alone time and have time at a book club or take a cooking class or something like that. The library has a ton of awesome resources, and is real. The Library of Things is phenomenal and a very utilized and under-publicized resource here in town. They have snowshoes at the Library of Things. You can borrow snowshoes from the library. Like, this is so cool. And so I really want to be trustee, because I would love to be part of healing some of that. I would love to be part of building some of those bridges within the community, so that people feel empowered to use the library as a resource for them, so that the staff feels supported in continuing to provide all these wonderful services to our town, and whatever other services and else they want to bring into our community, and to spread the good word about the library and make sure people know what's available and what we can do. So for my background, I'm a clinical social worker. I have extensive experience in nonprofit work, so I'm very familiar with tight budgets and grant funding and trying to make do with not nearly as much as you need for the resources you serve and for the resources you have in the community you serve. And so to me, like, the idea of working on a limited budget is not foreign, it's not new to me. And so being able to take that creativity and take that experience and apply it to the library is something I would really like to be able to do. Yeah.
That was beautifully
very
said.
good.
My
Thank you very much.
goodness. That's wonderful. And I'm happy you brought up, too, about all the wonderful things that are there.
Yes.
Pickleball rackets,
Yes.
and games, and puzzles.
Yeah.
And it's just so neat. And it helps parents, it helps all of us of all ages.
Mm-hmm.
And I love, too, that they have a puzzle out there, because I
Yes.
love to do puzzles.
Yep.
And you
Yep.
can go over for a little and just do a couple it
Mm-hmm.
just helps you to
Yeah, to
step back,
zone
relax
down.
a minute. It's,
Exactly. And even, if you're not able to physically make it into the library, the resources they have there, like you have Hoopla, you have Libby, so you can borrow audiobooks, and you can borrow movies and things like that off of those resources. And so even if you can't make it in, you have it available for you. So like I said, I do a lot of long rides and long runs. Libby saves my life every time. So there's so many books I can get there, and then I can just listen to a book while I'm out on the trail for hours and hours. It's wonderful.
I don't think a lot of people know about that.
And yeah.
And it's an app, right? It's an app that you would do.
And it's free. Yeah, you get it on your phone. You just download it on Play Store, what have you, and it's a free app. You put in your library card number, and there it is. And you have the whole library. You can search. And thanks to the fact that the library is part of GMILKS now, we have access to a much bigger database of audiobooks and resources than we had before. And by the way, I don't know if anybody else knows this, but when you go to the library and you check out something physically in person, they give you a receipt. On that receipt, they tell you how much you've saved that year by borrowing your materials from the library instead of buying them.
That's really cool.
We've borrowed not as many physical books as we normally do, but even just the physical books, we saved like $400 in like 4 months this year. It was ridiculous.
I've never heard that mentioned before.
Isn't that cool?
It's a good way to put it, focus right onto that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then as a community, like your 25 cents on your tax bill that went to the library this year saved you $400, $500, $1,000, depending on how much you used there. It's a really cool way to see how your small investment in a public resource gives so much back to you. And that doesn't even touch on how much enrichment you get from just the materials and the usage there, too. Yeah.
And the people,
I
the
know.
wonderful people that are in the library.
Oh, the staff. I
yeah.
love walking in. They know us by name. I don't think I've had to pull out my library card in months because like, oh, it's you.
Beautiful. But
Yes.
Isn't that nice? That's
It
old
is.
hometown.
Mhm.
Everyone cares about the community, the heart of the community, our library.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like, wow.
Mhm.
My goodness.
And-
Carol kind of has a question that she's been
love to
asked
hear it.
here and
Do you
there.
have a favorite genre or a favorite book that you like to read?
Oh, I'm a big fiction person. I love pretty much everything, and I've been on a really big nonfiction kick recently. So I recently read, a whole bunch. I read The North Women, which is about some recent research into Viking women during the Viking era and what they did and didn't actually contribute to Viking society based on anthropological research. It's really cool. I loved Circe. I loved. I'm reading right now The Bastard Brigade, which is about the people who made a whole bunch of work in the atomic research in World War II possible. So a whole variety of stuff, but my heart is a fiction heart. And I have very much so recently been into the spicier fantasy genre, which has been new for me. I don't normally go for that, but it's been a nice counterbalance to the day-to-day seriousness of life. That is something a little bit lighter and a little
Need
bit
that
less,
release,
a little bit
Mhm.
less,
Yeah.
critical thinking
Yep.
and more just enjoyment. I love that.
So what are you reading right now?
I am finishing up, and I have to think of the name of it. It's like a 20-hour audiobook, and all I can think of is Sarah J. Maas, who is not the author of this book. You put me on the spot.
No, that's okay. Don't worry.
It's okay.
My goodness.
I love the audiobooks.
Yes. What have you been reading?
Right now I'm reading Educated.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm listening to
I've
it.
heard that's a really good
So
book.
good.
And
Yeah.
it's a true story.
Good.
Is
It's a true
it?
story, yeah.
Oh, phenomenal.
My
Yeah.
dad's parents are from Idaho,
Mhm.
so that connection there. It's
Yeah.
kind of cool. Yeah.
Oh, it's very cool.
That's pretty good. That's neat. Well, if you'd like to just talk right into the camera and let the voters know that you'd like their vote, and
I would absolutely love your vote. I mean, I don't know if you want to vote for somebody who can't remember the name of the book she's reading right now, but I treasure this town and I treasure the resources we have here, especially our library. And, my family and I have been living in Londonderry for closing in on 6 years. And we have made this and put down roots in here far more than we ever thought we would outside of our hometowns, elsewhere in New Hampshire. And that's really special to me. So I would be honored to have the opportunity to serve you the way the library has served me and my family and served so many others in the community. So if you choose to vote for me, I thank you very, very much. And regardless of whether you vote for me or anybody else, please get to the polls and cast your ballot.
Yeah,
Make your voice
please.
heard.
Right.
Thank you.
No,
that's
thank
wonderful. And thank you for being here.
Wonderful having you with us.
Thank you,
Erica.
and-
thank you so much.
And thank you so much again for giving all of us the platform to be able to share and talk about what we're into and why we're running.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And good night.